Did you know that in 2018, it took engineers 3 days and millions of dollars to move a 340-ton obelisk with modern cranes? Well, the ancient Egyptians moved stones twice that size over 4,000 years ago, supposedly with just copper tools and wooden sledges. How on earth did they do that? Today, we're diving into ancient technologies that still leave modern science scratching its head. We're talking about technologies so advanced, so precise, and so seemingly impossible for their time that they make us question everything we thought we knew about human history. From mysterious machines that shouldn't exist to construction methods that defy the laws of physics and knowledge that appears to have come from nowhere. By the end of this video, you'll be wondering if our ancestors were far more advanced than we've ever imagined. Let's get into it. In 1901, a group of Greek sponge divers were working off the coast of the island of Antikythera. When they surfaced, they brought back stories of a shipwreck littered with bronze and marble statues. But among the treasures they recovered was something truly impossible. Something that would baffle scientists for over a century. A 2,000-year-old computer. This is the Antikythera mechanism. At first glance, it looks like a corroded lump of bronze. But what was hidden inside is what makes this discovery so mind-blowing. After decades of study, using advanced X-ray and imaging technology, researchers finally began to unlock its secrets in 2006. They found a complex system of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, engineered with a precision that seems completely out of place for its time. So, what did this ancient device do? It was an astronomical calculator of staggering sophistication. It could predict solar and lunar eclipses down to the exact hour. It tracked the irregular orbit of the moon. It knew the positions of the 5 planets known to the ancient Greeks: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It even had a dial to keep track of the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. This wasn't just a simple calendar, it was a mechanical model of the cosmos, as the Greeks understood it. It could calculate astronomical positions for decades into the future, all with the turn of a handle. Now, here's the part that gives me chills. After the civilization that created this device collapsed, nothing even remotely this complex appears again in the historical record for over 1,500 years. Think about that. The level of miniaturization, the mathematical and astronomical knowledge needed to even conceive of such a thing, let alone build it. It all just vanished. It's like finding a smartphone in an Egyptian tomb. This raises so many unsettling questions. Who were the brilliant minds behind this machine? We have no written records from the ancient Greeks describing this level of technology. Archimedes is sometimes mentioned as a possibility, but we have no proof. How did they develop this knowledge? Was it a slow accumulation of science, or was it a sudden leap forward? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, if this one survived by pure chance at the bottom of the ocean, how many others didn't? What other incredible technologies, what other lost knowledge did ancient civilizations possess? The Antikythera mechanism is a terrifying reminder of how much of our own history might be lost. Have you ever looked at the Great Pyramid of Giza and just wondered how it's not just big? It's a masterpiece of ancient engineering that still baffles us today. Let's break down the numbers, because they're absolutely The pyramid is made of roughly 2.3 million stone blocks. Each one weighs anywhere from 2 to a staggering 70 tons. Imagine trying to move a single block that weighs more than a semi-truck, let alone millions of them. For nearly 4,000 years, this was the tallest man-made structure on the entire planet. But the real mystery isn't its size, it's the precision. The base of the pyramid spans over 230 meters, which is more than 2 football fields. Yet, it's almost perfectly level, with a deviation of just over 2 centimeters. That's an error margin of less than 0.01%. Modern builders with laser levels would be proud of that accuracy. And it gets crazier. The 4 sides are aligned to true north with an accuracy of 3/60ths of a single degree. This isn't just good for ancient times. It's practically perfect. The blocks themselves fit together so tightly that you can even slide a credit card between them. And they did this without any mortar. Each massive stone was carved, moved, and placed with microscopic accuracy. So, what's the problem? Well, Mainstream history tells us the ancient Egyptians built this marvel around 2560 BC. The tools they supposedly used were simple copper chisels and saws, wooden rollers, and massive earthen ramps. Here's a catch. Copper is much softer than the granite they were cutting. It would have been an incredibly slow and painstaking process. Let's do some quick math. If it took one person 5 days to cut a single block, and they had to place 2.3 million of them in just 20 years, that means workers would have to cut, transport, and perfectly position one block every 2 to 3 minutes. And they'd have to do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 2 decades straight. Does that sound possible to you? Modern attempts to replicate these feats have been, to put it mildly, a failure. When researchers tried to build a small-scale pyramid using what they thought were ancient techniques, they couldn't even achieve 10% of the original's precision. Even more telling, back in 1986, a team of Japanese engineers attempted to build a small 60-foot pyramid using the same supposed methods. They eventually gave up and had to bring in modern machinery. And even with all their advanced technology, their final product didn't come close to matching the incredible precision of the Great Pyramid. So, the big question remains, how did they do it? The honest answer is, we genuinely don't know. The official story just doesn't seem to add up. Have you ever looked at a modern building and seen cracks appearing after just a few years? It's pretty common, right? But now, picture this. Structures built 2,000 years ago by the Romans, still standing tall and strong. How is that even possible? While our modern concrete starts to crumble within decades, ancient Roman concrete seems to defy time itself. Take the Pantheon in Rome, for example. Its construction finished way back in 126 CE, and it boasts the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. To this day, it's perfectly intact. No steel bars, no modern reinforcements. Just pure Roman engineering genius. And it's not just buildings on dry land. Roman seawalls and harbor structures have been battered by waves for 2 millennia, and instead of eroding, they've actually gotten stronger. This mystery baffled scientists for centuries. How did they do it? It wasn't until 2017 that we finally cracked the code. The secret ingredient, it turns out, is volcanic ash. The Romans mixed this ash into their concrete. When this mixture comes into contact with seawater, it triggers a unique chemical reaction. This reaction forms incredibly stable and rare minerals that fill in any cracks that form. Essentially, Roman concrete is self-healing. It literally repairs itself over time. Now here's the part that really blows my mind. This incredible technology, this recipe for eternal structures, was completely lost. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the knowledge just vanished. For 1,500 years, humanity couldn't figure out how to make concrete that lasted. We had to wait for the invention of electron microscopes and advanced chemical analysis in the 21st century just to rediscover what the Romans already knew. Think about that for a second. How did the Romans, without any of our modern chemistry or lab equipment, stumble upon and perfect a building material so advanced that we are only now beginning to understand it? What kind of trial and error, what kind of brilliant observation led them to this formula? And here's the final twist. Even though we now know the ingredients, we still can't perfectly replicate it. There are subtle details in their mixing process. Maybe the specific temperature or the order of operations that remain a complete mystery. The Romans developed a material that not only outlasts our own, but continues to hold its secrets. Did you know that batteries might have existed 2,000 years ago? It sounds like science fiction, but it's a real archaeological mystery. Back in 1938, near Baghdad, archaeologists unearthed some really strange clay jars. Inside each jar was a copper cylinder, and inside that, a single iron rod. These artifacts, now known as the Baghdad batteries, were dated all the way back to 200 BC. That's nearly 2,000 years before Alessandro Volta is credited with inventing the modern battery. So, how could these ancient jars possibly be batteries? Well, modern researchers decided to put them to the test. They recreated the jars and filled them with a simple acidic liquid, like vinegar or grape juice substances readily available in ancient Mesopotamia. The result was astonishing. The devices actually produced an electrical voltage. They worked. They were functional batteries. This discovery completely challenges our understanding of ancient technology. Of course, not everyone is convinced. Skeptics have proposed other theories, suggesting these jars were simply used for storing sacred scrolls, with the metal components acting as a protective casing. It's a plausible idea, but it doesn't quite explain the specific construction, which seems perfectly designed for an electrochemical reaction. Plus, the experiments prove they can generate electricity, which is a pretty big coincidence if they were just scroll containers. So, if they really were batteries, what on earth were ancient people using electricity for? The most compelling theory is this is the process of coating one metal object with a thin layer of another, like covering a copper trinket with a fine layer of gold. It would have been an incredible way to create luxurious-looking items without using large amounts of precious metal. To test this idea, scientists built replicas of the Baghdad batteries and connected several of them together. They then used the setup in an electroplating experiment with a gold solution. And guess what? It worked. They successfully coated a small object with a thin, even layer of gold using this ancient battery design. This proves that electroplating was at least possible with the technology they had. But this incredible possibility opens up a whole new can of worms. If they were electroplating, it implies a level of scientific knowledge that's far beyond what we thought ancient Mesopotamians possessed. They would have needed a practical understanding of electrical currents, chemical reactions, and metallurgy. Yet, there are no written records, no user manuals, no hieroglyphs or cuneiform tablets that explain these devices or how to use them. So we're left with this fascinating puzzle. We have these artifacts that look like batteries, work like batteries, and could have been used for this. 1963. Researchers stumble upon something so profound, it completely shatters our understanding of human history. What they found is a place called Göbekli Tepe. This isn't just some old ruin. It's a massive temple complex, meticulously constructed around 9600 BCE. Let that sink in for a moment. That's 11,600 years ago. To give you some perspective, this was built 6,000 years before Stonehenge. It predates the Great Pyramids of Egypt by 7,000 years. Now, here's where it gets really weird. According to everything we thought we knew, humans back then were supposed to be simple hunter-gatherers. We believed they lived in small, nomadic groups, without agriculture, without writing, and definitely without permanent settlements. They weren't supposed to be capable of building anything like this. Yet, Göbekli Tepe stands in defiance of all that. The site is famous for its enormous, T-shaped limestone pillars. Some of these pillars are over 18 feet tall and weigh up to 20 tons. They're covered in incredibly sophisticated carvings of animals, like foxes, lions, and scorpions, along with abstract symbols and stylized human figures. This wasn't a small-scale project. The entire site spans 22 acres. Building it would have required the coordinated labor of hundreds, if not thousands, of people over many, many years. The level of engineering skill on display is simply mind-blowing for the time. These massive pillars were quarried from bedrock, somehow transported uphill, and then erected with astonishing precision. This implies advanced planning, a deep understanding of engineering, and a complex social structure that, according to our old history books, just shouldn't have existed yet. It suggests a society with leaders, planners, and skilled artisans, all working together on a shared vision. But the mystery doesn't end there. Perhaps the most bizarre part of the Göbekli Tepe story is what happened to it. Around 8000 BCE, after centuries of use and construction, the entire complex was deliberately and carefully buried. Someone, or some group of people, intentionally filled the whole site with dirt and debris, preserving it almost perfectly for us to find thousands of years later. Why? Why would a civilization spend generations creating such a magnificent marvel, only to bury it and walk away? We have a no there. Göbekli Tepe is a ghost from a lost chapter of our past. It's undeniable proof of a highly advanced and organized civilization operating nearly 12,000 years ago. A civilization we know almost nothing about. It forces us to ask some fundamental questions. Were there other advanced societies that have been lost? Have you heard of the Dropa stones? In 1938, an archaeological team reportedly found 716 stone discs in caves on the China-Tibet border. These discs were about 12 inches wide, with a perfect hole in the center, and covered in tiny, spiral grooves. It was like an ancient record. But who made it? Fast forward to 1962, a scientist supposedly deciphered the grooves. The story he translated was astonishing. a tale of an alien spacecraft that crash-landed 12,000 years ago, leaving behind survivors called the Dropa. But here's the catch. Most of the original stones have vanished, and the scientist who translated them might not have even existed. Many experts call it an elaborate hoax. Yet, a few alleged stones in museums have shown strange properties, like high cobalt content and weird electrical charges. So, are the Dropa stones? Have you ever heard of a map that shouldn't exist? In 1929, researchers found a Turkish map from 1530 that's truly mind-boggling. It's called the Piri Reis map, and it shows the coastline of Antarctica with stunning accuracy. What's the big deal? Well, Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, 300 years after this map was made. But here's where it gets even weirder. The map shows Antarctica without any ice. Geologists tell us Antarctica has been covered in ice for millions of years. So how could a 16th century cartographer possibly know what the land looked like underneath all that ice? Even the U.S. Air Force confirmed in 1960 that the map's details match the subglacial topography we only discovered with modern radar. This impossible map suggests that ancient civilizations might have known far more about our world than we give them credit for. From computers that predict the cosmos, to construction precision we can't replicate, to lost knowledge of chemistry and electricity, to structures that predate civilization itself. These ancient technologies share one disturbing commonality. They represent knowledge that appeared, flourished, and then vanished completely from human history. We often imagine human progress as a straight line upward, each generation building on the last. But these technologies tell a different story. They suggest cycles of advancement and loss. Civilizations that rose to incredible heights, then collapsed so completely that their achievements became impossible legends. The most unsettling question isn't how did they do it? It's what else have we forgotten? If you found this fascinating, hit that subscribe